welcome to the Comic Corner. Welcome on in, everybody. My name is Damon. I am your host. I am joined alongside, as always, as AF. Buddy, how you doing today?
Dude, I'm doing great. Almost the end of the week. So, yeah, smiles all around.
I
How
just
are
realized
you?
that, as always, and you weren't on last week. I'm doing good. I forgot I soloed that thing for like the first 12 minutes, I think it was, where I was waiting for TJ. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I was running a little late last week,
That's
but I
fine.
am on time this week, and I'm
Woo!
just doing wonderful, man. I think viewers at home that tune into us may remember my ramblings about the Maker and the Ultimate Universe and how we cannot trust Ultimate Read. And I think I finally cracked the code over this past week since our last discussion. So I'm doing even better than great right now. I feel like
How
I can see the
dare you,
universe all
sir.
in front of me. The pieces all fit, and we're just on top of life here, man.
How dare you, sir? Not with that
Telling you, dude.
Doom, with the little Doom bot. It's so
Don't be
cute,
fooled.
man.
Don't be fooled, man. He's a Doom. He's not even a Doom. He's a Reed. You cannot trust a
Never
Reed.
trust the Reed Richards.
Never
I
trust
get
a
it.
Reed Richards.
Oh man, but he's a Doom. He specifically says he's a Doom.
How many
Anyway.
times do I have to teach you this lesson, Damon?
All right, we'll talk. Let's go through our rundown for the day. Why I'm digging. I know TJ is as well. Why we're digging Ultimate X-Men. There's a lot to talk about this book. I will say, at my comic shop, guys, this issue sold out at my comic shop. I think we're finally bringing people in. I think we're finally starting to do it.
We single-handedly did that.
Yes.
This show
Yeah,
single-handedly did that.
It's all us, baby. Me and my stand-in at BoomTube Comics, just sitting here with a whole Ultimate X-Men book in my hand saying, read this book. Summer of Superman incoming. We'll talk about last week's issue of Superman 22, which will then lead into this week's very important issue of Superman, the Lex Luthor special. And then I will go off because you know how much I love the Slaughterverse. Something is killing the children. Here comes the Slaughter lore. We have a brand new issue of a single one-shot that came out this week, and it's just lore, politics galore within this little world that James Tynion has created. All that and more. But first, Spider-Man? We knew this. We knew this was coming, but it's officially solicited. The Marvel solicits came out this week, and I'm going to read you the solicit. First of all, this is written by Joe Kelly, artist John Romita Jr., Pepe Larraz as well, colorist Martin Garcia. We have a new run of Amazing Spider-Man. Here we go. You ready for this? Alive and thwipping. The next era of Amazing Spider-Man has arrived. Peter is shockingly without a job and looking for a gainful employment. But in his job search is interrupted by a rampaging rhino who is but the tip of a sinister iceberg. What major Spider-Man villain is working behind the scenes, weaponizing the other Spider-Man villains, including one we haven't seen in over 7 years? Put that in big caps, 7 years. Also, what is that goblin-free Norman Osborn up to anyway? TJ, did I sell you on this book?
I want someone who, if I don't think we have anyone in the chat currently, but whoever watches this back, I want y'all to clip me and AF's facial expressions while you were reading that. But I first of all, I want the name of whoever came up with alive and thwipping. I need whoever wrote that. I need to see you in my office immediately. But I mean, I don't know, man. It's like Spider-Man, right? I haven't kept up with the current main Spider-Man line in a very long time, so I'm not a person to be like, oh, this sounds terrible, this sounds what I don't know what's going on over there, dude. I'm loving Ultimate Spider-Man. That's got all my attention right now, so hey, go crazy, right? I don't give a shit. It's not
did I sell you on this book?
I don't know. It just seems like a lot of what's been done already. Like, you just look at this cover, you see Black Cat, you see Sandman, you see the Green Goblin and Doc Ock, you see Rhino.
And it's a connected cover too, so the back of it will have even more Spider-Man villains that we've absolutely have seen not too long ago.
Yeah, so it's just like, it just feels like a rehash to me.
I will say Pepe Larraz is exciting. I really, really enjoy their art, so that's exciting.
But for the most part, John Romita Jr. will be doing the interiors of this book, from my understanding of it. Yeah, look, I'll say this. This is the reason why I'm more on the Ultimate book. It's just I think it's more interesting as of right now. This doesn't seem like anything that's furthering Peter's character at this point.
Yeah, I feel like
100%.
And they're just not getting it, which is oh well.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not in tune to that world right now. You know, like what's going on with Spider-Man, like at least the last like 4 years now, ever since Zeb basically started. But I just feel like that's like it's all completely its own little world, its own thing. Like I have no idea what's going on over there, and it doesn't affect any of my other titles. It's like Spider-Man's just kind of doing his own thing, and hey, that's fine by me because it is less work that I have to do. And I also want to really quickly shout out Dennis from Alternate Timeline in the chat, coming to say what's up. Good friends of ours, love the Alternate Timeline. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for stopping by.
Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man's great though. You should check that out.
Yep, Ultimate Spider-Man's great. I'm just a little disappointed. I was gonna be like, oh, maybe after the success of Ultimate Spider-Man, it's a little like, what lessons did we learn? How can we apply this to our main continuity Spider-Man? And we'll see. Maybe the book will surprise us. Maybe that's always a big possibility.
Yeah, I want to emphasize too. Again, like none
of us
read it
yet.
Are keeping
we haven't
up
read it
with
yet.
this, and none of us have read this. So
yes,
I don't want it to come off like we're just like, oh, don't pick up this book. If you have been enjoying Spider-Man or what's currently going on, hell yeah, for sure, check this out. Be excited for it, and like we're not writing it off. Just we're not in tune to that world, and this isn't something that's gonna bring us into it, right? Like, can we can agree on that?
Yeah, what we are looking for is stuff that intrigue us, that is new, that, as we say every single week, pique our interest. Although this Amazing Spider-Man new run doesn't seem like it's going to be doing that, unfortunately, I can tell you what book has been. Ultimate X-Men, Peach Momoko, writing, arting, coloring it, all that good stuff. Travis Lanham lettering it on this one. Woo! What an issue. What a book. So I have kind of labeled this to be, I labeled this episode to kind of be like, what is going on, TJ, in this Ultimate X-Men book? Because there's always been a little bit of complaints from those. I mean, we're now 11 issues in, and the biggest complaint outside of the pacing of it all is it's like, this doesn't resemble an X-Men team at all. And yeah, I agree. It doesn't. And that's kind of why I really dig it, because it's so different. Yeah. It's so different. It's so much its own thing. And I said it at least 10 issues prior to this. It almost feels like a little like feudal Japan in a way where it's so isolated in towards its own story. And that's why it works so well. What I love about what this is getting at, though, this entire book, is that there's a lot of moving parts within this whole series, as we are 11 issues in. We have Armor Hisako, who is kind of like our main character, but we have a B character as well, which is May Storm, who kind of represent the dichotomy, the two sides of being a mutant. Armor Hisako is afraid of her powers. She's scared. She's, worried about putting herself out there and being discovered. Meanwhile, May is using her powers to do what she thinks is good and justice. It's the two sides of the mutant story there. And I like how, because they're both friends and they both talk to each other, how they portray the two sides of the coin in that way. You also have the Children of the Atom Factor, which is a bunch of kids who were kind of taken in, forcibly had their mutant powers kind of like manufactured, turned on, however you want to say, activated, and used for a cult-like society, and May's trying to save them. And then there's some other weird stuff going on with like Nico Minoru and how she's trying to help those who are personally affected as well. There's a lot of different moving parts to this. And what I also really appreciate is the whole Shadow King stuff, TJ. And when Shadow King makes an appearance in this issue, everyone that she's with is like, oh, he's scary, he's afraid. And she said, no, he's kind of a victim, just like the Children of the Atom. He just doesn't know yet, right? And I like that approach to him. My only criticism of this issue is it has a weird cutoff point. But outside of that, TJ, what'd you think about this issue in particular?
I loved it. I love this issue, and I really, really loved issue 10 as well. I thought
Oh,
both
10
of
was
those.
wild.
Yeah, 10 was crazy. And I just have to echo all of your sentiments. The reasons why some people don't like it are why I personally love it. We'll be talking about this in this episode later, but we have a whole line of X-Men books of different X teams and like different variations of teams. So to me, if Ultimate X-Men were just like, oh, this is Japanese X-Men team, like it wouldn't hit the same because it's like we already have a shit ton of that. I really like how this isn't, like you said, like a team. It's just like a group of kids trying to figure this thing out. And I really love the kind of mystery horror angle that the whole book has been basically running on since issue 1. Again, what's going on with the Children of the Atom? What's going on with their experiments? Like there's all this kind of mystery around everything that I love. And these last 2 issues specifically, I feel like Peach has really kind of turned up the tone a little bit. And I don't want to really spoil it for people, but there's something that happens with the Cyclops character. I forget what her name is, but basically she's like the Cyclops type. And I was like, whoa. I was not expecting that turn, but I think it really just adds to the vibe. And again, this kind of it's centered around kids, but like these kids are in real danger. It's not like, oh, like these kids are learning their power. Like, no, like they could really be hurt or, killed with like as they discover who and what is behind all this. So yeah, I just love it so much. I love this book. I think it's great. Again, we've talked about the pacing. I think the pacing is justified and works for the style of the book and like the genre of book it's trying to be. And I just want more. I love it. I really, really urge people. I've had a couple conversations with a couple people who have been catching up on Ultimate stuff and are like, oh yeah, I'll get to X-Men. But I really urge people to give this a shot, like a real shot, because it's great.
Also, 2 last points on this book. Carlos, who's in chat, I know one of his favorite characters is Psylocke. There is a Psylocke character in this book. Her name is Kanon, and she has a nice little fight battle with armor to try to bring a little bit of that aggression out of her, to be like, we are in this fight. You gotta push yourself. And her whole like ultimate backstory is slightly different than what you'd expect with Psylocke's point of view, but really, really good. And also, I have mentioned several times that this book is so isolated from the rest of the Ultimate Universe. However,
I was gonna say this. I'm so glad you brought this up.
However, we get 2 nods to the rest of the Ultimate Universe. We get a Storm nod for what's going on in Ultimate Black Panther, which almost pushes why Mae Storm is idolizing her in a way, and I cannot wait to see those 2 team up. And also a Black Cat nod to what's going on in Ultimate Spider-Man, with some news updates going on everyone's cell phones and stuff. Really love those. It's just the slight things. There hasn't been any connectivity on like what's going on in the other books, honestly. This is hilariously, out of all the books, this is the first one that's hey, it's things going on here.
I think we've seen more of Black Cat in Ultimate X-Men at this point than Ultimate Spider-Man.
Oh no. A little bit, yeah. A little bit.
Also, I want to highlight Carlos's comment here because I thought it was really funny. It's a good play on words.
Ultimately amazing isn't a spectacular. That is true. Unfortunately, that is true. So, guys, Ultimate X-Men, go check this out.
Thumbs up.
Go check this out. I think it's great. I love this book, and I will also agree with myself earlier. This will read as an amazing trade. If you don't like the pacing of it, the trade of it is how it's kind of designed to be read, especially with this awkward cutoff that this issue specifically has. But dig it. I love Peach Momoko's art. I think her storytelling is very unique, especially for Western American comics. Go check it out if you want something different. Now, if you don't want something so different, but still X-Men,
I don't know. I might push back on that a little bit. I mean, we've talked about this a while. I actually just caught up in the last couple issues. I was behind, and oh man, is Jed putting his foot on the gas. I think it's 8 through 10. I think we get the raid on Grey Milk Prison, which is basically the prison that is capturing all the mutants in this new From the Ashes world, and it is also the old Xavier School. So that's a whole nother layer to the whole thing. But we get the two X teams fighting each other, fighting robots, fighting mutants that are mind controlled. It's just a crazy good time with superpowers and people in fancy suits flying around. It's super cool. But this issue, Damon, you said something really funny about it, but this issue is full on Cyclops, and he is taking the fight to the government. And he's we're not playing any more of these games. And basically, you guys can't stop us. And I absolutely love it. I know that Cyclops is a character that has gone through like a couple different kind of iterations. Like he had a little villain arc for a while with the Brotherhood of Mutants. But personally, I always think of Cyclops kind of like the X-Men, animated series, like kind of Boy Scout, kind of just like does whatever Charles wants. So seeing this side of Scott and him just like taking control of the situation and doing what he thinks is right, as opposed to like what Xavier thinks is right, I really love that. I love the tension of it. And we also got a again, going back to his thing with Xavier, he purposely leaves Xavier in prison. He's like, hell no, this dude is always responsible for all of our deaths. Everything that goes wrong is basically this dude's fault, and I'm sick of it, and I'm done with it. He's like, we're not living for Xavier's dream anymore. We're free to make our own dreams. And I was like, that's a bar, my friend. That's a bar, Scott. And I loved that. So I just love this whole vibe that is starting to come through. We talked earlier, like in the beginning, it kind of really felt like, oh, X-Men are just kind of getting back together, doing, X-Men adventures. This kind of flipped the whole thing for me. And I just think it's awesome. I love what Jed's doing. I love the more morally ambiguous team that Scott has. Like, I love, obviously, the team with Rogue, Gambit, Wolverine, all those guys. But they're more like in my opinion, more of like solid good guys, right? Like, but Scott's Cyclops team, you got Magic, you got Juggernaut, you got Magneto. So a lot
Temper,
more.
Which is a character who killed a person.
Exactly.
In the Krakoan arc.
Yeah. So I really, really like, again, this more moral ambiguity that we're getting between the two teams and like how that comes into conflict. So yeah, I mean, it's great, guys. Y'all need this and Uncanny. In my opinion, they kind of work in tandem with each other. You can read one without the other, but it'll benefit you to read them both because they're great. Shout out Andrew too. Thanks for coming by, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for coming by, Andrew. Carlos said he's not really a fan of the art in this book. I don't fully disagree. I think it's fine. It doesn't bother me as much as like some other titles that I've seen out right now, but I think it is fine.
Is this a new art on this issue than it has been previous issues?
I'm not sure. I'm going to be honest because I kind of jumped in. Marvel Unlimited like 1 through like 6 or 1 through 7, and then I kind of jumped in on this completely skipping over the whole Grim Malkin art.
I'll have to look back, but I think this issue might be a different artist, but the art in 6, 7, and 8 slapped like crazy hard. So I'll have to look into that.
Is this a brand new arc though?
This is kind of like a tweener.
I would say this starts a new arc. Like this is like the conclusion to previous and starting. I'd say so.
You can jump on with this issue.
Basically, what you need to know is they broke into a prison to free mutants, and Scott's like, "We haven't done our F you, government. I don't like you."
Yeah, there's as I called it pre-show, this is a measuring contest between Scott and the U.S. government. And one of the lines in here that I think is just wild, like just downright wild, is he kind of says, "Oh yeah, you think you can kill me? You kill me, the world dies. Why? Oh, you think my wife will handle my death
Dude,
well. Yeah.
That's
I'm
so
threatening.
dope.
He's like, you're gonna threaten like us with that? And he went, oh yeah, I will. And then he has a interesting little back and forth after that with Quentin as well.
Yeah, he
Kid
basically is like,
Omega.
yeah, you're here in case the Phoenix comes to kill the world,
Yeah,
and like
it's
you're
like,
gonna.
yeah,
That's
you're.
the only reason
It's like,
you're on
why
the
do you
team.
think He's like, why do you think I assembled this specific team? Because Scott is not messing around. It's almost a little bit of like, is this a different Scott at this point? Like, I don't know. He's like, kind of like
Well,
buffing up a little bit.
I have two more things I want to bring up very quickly because I know
Mhm.
we have to move on. But
Yeah, we have a lot of books.
one Magneto. So in previous issue, we learned that Magneto has some kind of sickness, resurrection linked degenerative sickness is what he calls it, and he theorizes it's from his resurrection in Krakoa, and he specifically asked Scott like, how is that going to affect other people? How's that going to affect you? You were resurrected like a bunch of times. So that could be in line with what you're saying here, Damon, of maybe the resurrections kind of changed him a little bit.
Mhm.
And another point I want to bring up just very quickly is anyone else noticing the rise of Roxxon across numerous titles right now? What the hell's going on over there? Am I
Tell you that because
conspiracy
I've
brain?
been too deep into the Ultimate world that outside
True.
of like this, which I
Well,
kind of dabbled in, and the first issue of the Magic book, that it's just like Scarlet Witch, and she would never
Yeah.
deal with Roxxon. So I don't know. You'd have
I
to
would
tell
say
me.
we got Roxxon dabbling here in the X-Men with I forget who they are, but the people controlling the prison and all that, they got their hands in that. They're very heavily involved with what's going on in Immortal Thor right now.
Mhm.
I just feel like, I mean, we know Roxxon kind of pops up here and there all the time, but it feels like recently in the past like couple months they've been mentioned a lot more across a lot of titles. So if anybody watching this back, or maybe watching, if you've noticed that too, maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like something might be cooking with Roxxon.
Maybe. Let's be
Maybe.
quick on this one because we have a lot of books and we love Philip Kennedy Johnson. This is Hellhunters number 2,
Ooh,
TJ.
yeah, I'll make this quick. Killing Nazis, awesome. It's cool. That's what it is. That's what the book is, and that's all I want. That's all I want. It's all I need. Kennedy Johnson absolutely crushes it. We get introduced to Logan in this issue, which I'm not confused. I mean, you know me, I just ride with the punches, baby. But I'm not sure. Did we get the Bone Claws retconned any recent point? Just the only reason I ask is we don't see him with any claws in this, which obviously he wouldn't have the adamantium. But instead of claws, he has some really awesome trench knives that you can see here on the cover, and he is not afraid to use them. It is awesome.
Well, I was gonna say, way back in the day, they weren't actual, bone claws. They were kind of like the gloves that had the knives on the end of them. So
True.
I don't know. This is kind of like playing in its own little reality, right?
Yeah, this is from so this is during World War II. So I guess it's not necessarily not canon, or whatever you call that these
In
days.
continuity.
Like the secret history or something. I don't know, and I don't care because it's freaking awesome. And like I said, I love it. This new Ghost Rider is super, super cool. We don't get as much of him. Like the first issue is really like his showcase. This one is more so like, okay, we got the team together. We need to find the Nazis. They find Logan. And they're like, hey, we make a pretty good team, right? Let's go kill some more Nazis. And that's it. It's great. Like I said, that's really all you need to know about the book, especially in the days we're living in right now. I think this is a book we need now more than ever.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Speaking of good, fun books, DC's All In Initiative, baby. This is Justice League Unlimited number 3, written by Mark Waid, artist Dan Mora, colorist Tamara Bonvillain, and letter Ariana Mayer. AF, tell me what is going on in the JLU.
So yeah, you tell me that you only read issue 1 of this. So there is something that happened in there that I can actually refer back to from this issue. So essentially, if everybody knows after Absolute Power, there's still so many heroes out there that has their powers swapped with another hero. So basically, the teams are splitting up, trying to get to all of these heroes, trying to get their power sets back to where they're supposed to be. And then Ryan Choi, Ray Palmer, they have their Atom Project So that's like sort of a side plot or a B plot of this issue. It's about 4 pages long, where they head out to find Phantom Girl, because Phantom Girl's powers swapped with Plastic Man, so she looks quite hideous. Kind of like, you remember how that Pokemon Muck used to look?
Oh, I'm well aware
Similar.
of Mhm.
So yeah, she doesn't look great,
Mhm.
and yeah, they basically just end up getting their powers swapped back, and they're all happy. But yeah, that was like a 4 pager. I didn't enjoy that because it just like took me out of the main narrative of the book, and that was the Amazon forest is on fire by the supervillain Inferno, and the Justice League has to go over there. Mr. Terrific is like, dude was just calling the shots. He was like the QB of this issue, just puppeteering the entire team, making sure that everybody does things in the right way. So I enjoyed that a lot. But yeah, just that Adam Project thing, it just kind of took me out of that. And then they gave Airwave sort of a side mission in the issue, and we all know what his whole plan was at the end of the first issue, and he wants to kill the Justice League. So he's basically like a sort of planted infiltrating agent for whatever's happening, and I think somehow it's going to link up with everything that Inferno is currently doing. But we're just gonna have to wait and see, because there's still a lot of mystery going into it. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I just don't enjoy a B plot in a book this important.
It's fair. That's fair. Poor Airwave, man. I remember like he was like, "Oh, you feel so good," and then like at the end of that first issue, he's like breaking down. I'm like, "Oh no, no!" So hopefully it doesn't go through with it.
I think on that, it's just that the fact that he's found a sort of a family and he's never had a family before, and then there's this interaction in this issue between him and the Question, where he actually says that he's never had anybody, he doesn't have anywhere to go, and for the first time, he actually has people that cares about him. But because of his initial mission is to destroy the Justice League, I think there's going to be some sort of mental obstacle there for him. Like, is he going to actually be able to go through with this or not?
All right, we're gonna go on to Superman 22. Golly, written by Joshua Williamson. Hey, it's Dan Moore on the art again. Colorist Alejandro Sanchez and Ariana Mayer, the letterer. I checked this issue out during a big, like, I needed to kind of go back, and I was a few issues behind on Superman, but I'm all caught up now. And this was a pretty darn cool issue. Planet Doomsday is the subheader on this, but man, there's an image in here that's kind of like linger on, because if we all remember from way back early in kind of like the first giant saga of the Superman, had like all the like kryptonite elements kind of put him, and part of that is the red kryptonite. So he's able to lose his cool more typically than he currently does because he has red kryptonite in him. And there's an image in here, TJ. We can say it because it's been out for a week, of Doomsday who's come down to Earth, and then there's like essentially this whole Doomsday from the future who's like, you have to kill me to kind of fix everything. Superman's like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. Anyway, Superman comes down to Earth, Doomsday comes down to Earth, and we kind of loses his cool, so we get a weird little Doomsday Superman team up while there's another alliance of planets trying to kill Doomsday. And so obviously there's a part of Superman that's trying to protect Doomsday because like, I can't let anyone die. And now we have a Doomsday Superman team up on one page, an image I never thought I'd ever see in my life.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's just the fact that I think that was the final page or the final shot of the book. This alien armada that comes to Earth, they basically want him to just give up Doomsday, and he's just like, no, dude, I can't do that. And yeah, there's just like the art. I mean, you mentioned Dan Moore. I feel like he just gets Superman. The artists just have
Dan Moore's incredible.
Yeah, it's just so much of a facelift compared to previous issues. And I really think it's just down to him knowing Superman, knowing the type of character he is. But yeah, it's just the whole thing of Jimmy Olsen as well, trying to get that picture of Superwoman. That's just like, it's just like a running gag for me right now,
Mhm.
because he's trying so hard and they gunning him down at work. Like, why aren't you able to do this? Like, you can get pictures of Superman. Why can't you do it with Superwoman? So yeah, like I'm enjoying Superman. I don't think I'm putting this down anytime soon. And you know why?
Because we
Because
have a big story also going on in it, TJ, for you haven't been keeping up. So after Absolute Power, Lex kind of had his memory wiped by Brainiac in order to like solve the whole scenario. He doesn't remember who he is. So now, for at least a bit, we have good guy Lex Luthor. And he has a beard and he's kind and he's just like, I'm sorry for the person I used to be. People are like throwing coffee in his face, be like, you are the worst. And he's like, nah, I get it. Previous me is
It's like,
terrible.
yeah, I
deserve
suck.
this. He's like, I get it. But they're trying to like, they actually need his help as Lex Luthor because AF, Mr. Terrific is starting to pick up some signals about this other world, this else world that Darkseid has created. We're starting to get a little bit of teases towards the absolute stuff. And he can't crack the code. He's like, I see an image. It's a fuzzy image, but I can't find a way to see it. I'm stumped because like it's something about it. I need to get to the darkest parts of me to be able to figure it out. And I just can't do it. But you know who's a genius and can? Lex Luthor. But unfortunately, as we mentioned, Lex Luthor is not Lex Luthor. So this whole issue is trying to crack Lex. And his daughter gives him like a piano. And there's some flashbacks over to like Lex on his farm and how he's dealing with things with his mom and his dad. And you can see a little bit of how Lex kind of becomes Lex. Spoiler AF by the end of this issue. I'm sorry. He remembers.
everything.
He just remembers some things. I don't know if he remembers everything, but Lex is starting to come back. You know why? Because Mr. Terrific gives Superman a call. He's like, your idea did it. Lex did it. We're able to, he gave me this thing that kind of went all the way back to the childhood of Lex and Clark. And this is working. We're able to like look into this world now. And all of a sudden Superman pauses. He's like, what do you mean he figured it out? Oh no, he remembers. And you just see this dark image of Lex over his piano of him starting to remember a song. That is why this issue is actually very important to not just the All-In initiative, not just the Superman stuff, but also like the absolute stuff as well. So very much so. This issue kind of came out of nowhere for me. It surprised me.
Yeah, and I mean, like that one panel in Superman 22 as well, where he remembered something that was important, but he literally just remembered that one thing in isolation. So, I mean, the fact that this came out immediately after that showed like that was a sort of a breadcrumb that was laid, and now I think the floodgates are just open.
Yeah, we'll see if he remembers everything or he just remembered that one thing, but he's starting. It feels like Lex is starting, if not already fully back. Dug this issue. I mean, very cool. Joshua Williamson just has Superman in his bag, man. He has Superman in his bag. Onto our Boom books. I really enjoy Hello Darkness from Boom Studios. This is their horror anthology. We have a ton of different creators on here. Hilariously, the ones that are like on the cover right now, the only one that actually was involved in this issue is Robert Hack, who does this one page kind of like comedy, horror, dark humor snippets. In this issue, we have creators Mario Liavette, Robert Hack, Enreed J, Chris Gooch, David Hazen, Ethan S. Parker, Griffin Sheridan, and Edison Neo. There's 3 stories in here I really want to shout out, and I wrote them down so I remember who did it. There we go. I have notes on this. The first one is Love, Love. This is essentially the story. This is written by Griffin, Ethan, and Edison. This is essentially almost like the story of like a slasher, a Jason type, if you will, who's
That
like,
was my favorite.
Yeah, I'm in love, and he overhears a conversation of like 2 women being like, oh, you know, he was terrible, but he made this grand gesture and it made me so happy. He's like, oh, I'm gonna do that. So what does he do? He kills a bunch of people and has their body remains spell out like love in front of the woman's house, and she's like,
Wow.
you can't keep doing this. But you know, it's a funny little side ending. Oh my goodness, what's another one? Evermore is a wild story. It's very deep. I can tell this is very deep. This is from David Hazen and Stefano Onesi. This one's very deep. This is almost like the story of like a past wife, you know, a former spouse of yours, you're a widow, just haunting you throughout your whole life, and how you kind of can't move on from it. A little, not even a little, very, very dark, but that's kind of like the underbelly of it. He thinks he's like, at one point, he went onto this dating app and he thought he was kind of like dating her in a way. And he's just always comparing almost everyone to her until finally, like, she won't leave him alone. He's trying to push him away. And then, like, this horrific figure shows up at the door. It's to symbolize, like, you know, not being able to move on, and how like a long lost love of that who tragically passed away can literally haunt you. And then the other one, which TJ may probably not be too surprised that I shouted out, this is Maria Yavet's Words and Smoke. If you're into a Nosferatu phase right now, into like that gothic horror aesthetic, it's literally that. Like, quite literally that. It's a woman who tragically lost the love of her life at one point, and the book company is like, hey, we need more books, and then one day she sees this figure in the window and she thinks it's her lost love, but in reality it's like a demonic ghost vampire-esque figure, and as she's following him back out the window, it's almost like it leads to her death. It's written and drawn by Maria. I thought it was beautifully portrayed. Those are my top three. TJ, you said your favorite was Love.
Yeah, that was definitely my favorite. And then I also really liked the other one that you mentioned with the guy that's haunted by his, you know, ex-wife or whatever. But that one made me sad. It was good, but I was sad.
Yeah, this was very clearly booked for the Valentine's Day season,
Yeah,
and
totally.
it's more heartbreak. Like,
Yeah.
the horror here is heartbreak instead of you know, yay, happy.
I didn't even put that
love.
together on. You're sharp, Damon. You're sharp.
My media literacy comes and goes. TJ Zwarich, host of the Agents of Fandom podcast. Hello, welcome to the show.
I know that guy.
I know that guy too. We're moving on to our next Boom Studios book, Red Before Black, #4, Stephanie Phillips, Goran Sudzuka, Eve Savorchina, and letterer Tom Napolitano. I love this book. I think this book is one of the most underrated books that not just Boom's putting out, but like on the comic shelves right now, because I'm just not seeing anyone talk about it. If you like Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, and like you just want more of that kind of vibe of the chaotic couple, like this is it for you. Although this issue does get a little darker into Leo's backstory, and we start to learn a little bit more about her and kind of why the way she is. It seems like her dad was a horrible person, gaslit her into possibly she's claiming that he's, you know, a bad person, a pedophile, if you will, and immediately was kind of put into a psych ward. So you have that aspect of it, but she's found a good connection with Val, who they've both kind of may have just killed a guy together, and now they're running not just from the cops, from the authorities, but also from someone that Val tried to set up in the long run, because it was like a plant operation. It's a mess, and unfortunately we do not get any appearance, and I hope we continue this, of their little pet alligator Winston. No Winston in this issue, TJ. It was very sad. It sounds like maybe they dropped her off at her dad's first wife's kids alligator ranch in Florida.
How dare they? How dare
So
they?
hopefully they get him back, because
I'm
I
not
need more
reading
baby gator.
Not reading it anymore until he comes back. But yeah, I think I'm 2 issues behind on this now. But I love it too. Like you were saying, I think it hits that like Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy vein perfectly. And I mean, two chicks doing badass shit on a road trip, right? Like,
It's a road trip, all right.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think it's super fun. And like you said, I'm surprised I haven't seen anybody really be talking about this. So
It does
get on it, people. Get on it.
Get on it, people. If you like Stephanie Phillips's Phoenix run, if you like her Spider-Gwen run, and you just want to check out more stuff that Stephanie Phillips has done outside of also Grimm, this is it. This is another great Stephanie Phillips book, and I think it just needs to be talked about more.
She's doing the
love.
current
You know that-
Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
Dude. Rips. Y'all need to check that out too.
You know that Stephanie Phillips is a great writer. The fact that she can be writing these two books simultaneously, Before Black and Spider-Gwen, because they sound like contrasting tones completely.
Total differences. Mm-hmm.
And like she's just doing them, like pumping them out every month.
Dude, she brought Gore back. She has my money for the rest of my life. Come on, dude. She brought Gore back with the Phoenix. Like,
bang.
We're fans over here.
Bang. All right, my last book of the week. This is a me book because I love everything Something's Killing the Children. I dig everything about them. A little behind of House of Slaughter, but this is the Tiny likes to put out these almost solo shot anthologies that is just, this is a huge world building book. And I've explained it before, but for those who are new, Something is Killing the Children is going to be a Netflix show, guys. This is going to be a huge hit. I can guarantee you this is going to be an absolute hit. But Tynion has not just done everything within that little universe. He's expanded upon it by making this giant secret society of monster hunters. In this issue, we follow Maxine Slaughter, who is a former White Mask. White Masks are people of the House of St. George, or the Society of St. George, who are essentially the monster hunters, but the White Masks hunt in packs, Black Masks hunt by yourselves, Red Masks are kind of like the historians, the Blue Masks are the tech people. Each mask color represents a different aspect of where you kind of fit in your house. And she's a former solo hunter former group hunter turning into a solo hunter. And that's also because this whole thing with Erica has gone so off the edge and Something is Killing the Children that they need a new Black Mask. Let's just say that. So she goes over to England to kind of like learn a little bit more, and it's dark and twisted, and this whole thing with St. George's Society is like completely like deeper than you ever thought, and it's a very big political, like you learn the real deep politics of this entire society. If you're digging Something's Killing the Children, you didn't pick this up, like I don't know what you're doing at this point. Go pick this up. Read House of Slaughter. It's a huge world that Tynion has built. I can just see this just expanding and expanding and expanding. And I think it's so fascinating to see the inner workings of it all. And it's so funny too, how this book started from just a mini series. Something is Killing the Children was going to be a mini series, and it's just blown up to this, where we're talking about like houses over here in England, but then there's another house over here in Paris, and how they compete against each other and how they kind of have handshake agreement. It's like, that's the type of stuff that's cool to me with comics and storytelling in general.
Yeah, while I'm not in tune on this, you know, I love a good lore. I love lore. I love world building. I love interesting, creative new worlds. So I am behind this 1000%. Just something I haven't done my homework on yet. But I mean, Tynion is a master, dude. He's like one of the best writers working in comics right now. So you're pretty safe picking up anything from him. So I can like almost guarantee that the book is as good as Damon is saying. And Damon is a hard critic, so if he praises a book that much, then you know that it's got to be some gas. Except if it's Jeff.
No, Jeff is always gas. What are you talking about? Jeff is consistently a 10 out of 10 book.
No, I'm just kidding. We love Jeff.
Hey, if I need to get all of us back on to do a good comic book reading club of Something is Killing the Children, because that saga, I mean, I think we're going to do it in the Halloween time, but at this point, we just got to do it sooner or later, because it's by far the best comic on the shelf from a complete storytelling point of view. And I'm saying outside of superhero stuff, all of it. This is hands down some of the best storytelling going on. And the only downside to it is that it is monthly, but it comes in spurts, because Tynion and Werther Dell'Edera, who's the artist on this book, always kind of have to, like, they be together on this. They would never continue this book if either one of them left it. So they do it at a pace where they go on like months, plural, long hiatuses between arcs. It's the only downside to it, but it also gives you some nice breathing room to be like, all right, we're back in sick tick mode, everybody. I think everyone would dig this series because this is going to be huge. Like from a Netflix point of view, when this gets put on for a larger audience, this is going to be massive.
Yeah, I think that speaks for itself. The fact that it's a story that they looked at and thought, okay, let's just make this into a huge television show, and that you're definitely going to get some people going back to the books after that because that's what happens.
And you should.
It happened to me with Paper Girls. I watched the show.
Yeah,
I'm still super sad that got cancelled. But yeah, I didn't know that it was adapted, and then I went back and I went to go find the graphic novel, and yeah, that was great.
I was the same way with Paper Girls. I knew it existed, but I really liked that first season of that show. So I went back and started reading it. But there's also this guy at my comic shop, and he wears got whatever the masks things are called in the Something's Killing Children.
Oh, they're just masks.
Yeah, he's got the black one with like the teeth
mask.
on. He wears it every single week, and I've never talked to him in my life, but I'm like, I see you, dude. I see you. And so I want to shout him out for this episode, dude. Shout out to you, my man. I see you, man. Every other Wednesday.
I think you guys would dig this. A lot of people call it horror. There's a little bit of horror because it's like monster hunting, but like, look, is again the Buffy the Vampire fans, Buffy the Vampire Slayer fans. If you haven't gone on this, do it right now.
Yeah.
I
do it.
Big enough.
What can we call that? Horror adjacent?
Do it.
Horror adjacent? Yeah, it's like horror adjacent. All right. That's it. We have our next week's polls. I actually have a decent number of books next week. I have Absolute Superman number 4. I was mentioning with AF Off Pod how like the Avengers and Scarlet Witch are kind of books I like dabble here and like I'll put it back and then I'll go pick it up and read it again. But we have 2 arcs right now, and here's the reason why. Black Cat's in both of those books, everybody. Thumbs up, everyone. Thumbs up. And Birds of Prey by Kelly Thompson. And of course, the highlight, The Ultimates, number 9, TJ.
Hell yeah. Sorry, everybody. I'm not a Fairweather fan like Damon is. So
I will in a book and it immediately kind of goes back up on my list, man.
I will be picking up Scarlet Witch like I have been faithfully, and as well as Avengers and obviously the Ultimates. But another one that I am picking up that I absolutely love. I've talked about it, I think, a couple times on this show, but the new Wolverine series, the From the Ashes, another one that we talked about that's like, yeah, Logan's back in Canada. He's, has a family of wolves, yada, yada. We've seen that before.
Yeah.
but recently we just got, I love a good deep dive. I love a good, we talked about this with Steve, bringing back something super obscure. So they recently brought back adamantine. So people who might not know, adamantium is what obviously Wolverine's claws are made of. But there's also a metal called adamantine, and that's what, for example, Hercules' golden mace is made of adamantine, right? And they're bringing this thing back, and it's like a sentient freaking metal, man, and it's coming for adamantium. It's literally like adamantium is a false metal. Anyone who has it is on my freaking list, and it possesses people that have adamantium. Freaking cool, man. It's freaking cool. And also the last issue number 5, probably one of the coolest splash pages I have ever seen. We haven't used our F5 yet, so I'll use it. The coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. Martin Kokolo is a freaking master with the pen. I very strongly urge y'all to check it out. There's some cool things going on over there. But that's my list.
We now have 2 Marvel books with sentient metals that kind of
Other one, Vibranium.
In the Ultimate Universe.
That's old news. That we've seen Vibranium. Adamantine is old news.
That's in the Ultimate Universe, baby. So
yeah, we're not talking about that, Dan. We're in 616.
Yeah, what you got next week?
Speaking of 616, I'm probably going to speak about TVA number 2 again next week.
Oh boy.
Yes, thank you, AF. Thank you. Let's do our own.
That was an amazing segue. Thank you so much. That's just open the runway for
All
me.
right,
I love
just
that.
let's talk about TVA.
And yeah, Green Lantern 19 came out this week for me, so I might probably speak about Jeremy Adams and his amazingness and his brilliance next week. Yeah.
Oh man, well that'll do it for this issue of the Comic Corner. Everyone, do not forget, as TJ has mentioned, we have so many things going on here on the Agents of Fandom Network. Tomorrow, we have another live show. The Severance live show is tomorrow. Go check that out for all you Severance fans. I still a show that I need to get into, but a show that I
Milchek's a robot. I'm putting it out there right now. That's my theory.
The show I have been enjoying. I don't know if either you two have caught the first 2 episodes of it yet. Has been Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I thought that was a lot of fun. Those first 2 episodes, and we had an entire live reaction yesterday. So go check that out, and we'll have an entire live show next week as well for us. So make sure you check that out. We have our Comic Corner, Invincible, and Severance. Man, we have so many things going on.
Cooking.
So much cooking. And Captain America, Brave New World, and Invincible interviews, including for all of us comic folks, a very prevalent name possibly in those as well. So please go check those out. Keep an eye out for that. That'll do it for this issue of the Comic Corner. As always, please go support local comic shops. Until next time.